Now that's good history.
Welcome back to Toast History. This is a historic day, and it's a historic day for the show. Today is the first day we go over an event. We've always gone over people. We've always gone over places. Today we go over an event. We're evolving here, people, and you're here to see it. Today has a very special day in my heart. Why was this event so special to me? Why was the man in charge so special to me? I don't know. But as I read history and I study history, this battle drawed me. This person drawed me, and he's my favorite general. And he's this event I know so much about. I've been there a couple times. I can't wait to go back. Plan on going to the 150th, 5 years away, guys. So, today, it was a Sunday, June the 25th, 1876. Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer and 261 of his men were killed in battle by hostile Indian tribes at the Little Bighorn River. They were heralded when it happened in 1876, 145 years ago. Today, they're not so. If you watch the movie The Smithsonian, if you watch many of the films, Custer has been an arrogant jerk or an idiot. That's how he's portrayed. The people of the 7th were a thrown together, ragtag, a bunch of people that should not be in a uniform. But today is their day, and today we're going to honor them on this show. And I'm going to tell you their story because it needs to be heard. So, pull a bar stool, grab a beer. I have stories to tell. The 7th Calvary was a unit of the United States Army on horseback. They were commanded by Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer, who was one of the best officers left over from the Civil War. Now, when they were very well decorated. They were a great unit. Custer was a great commander. But by the time they got here to the Battle of Bighorn, a lot of those good troops had left, and they were resupplying with younger, other troops. There was a treaty signed. It gave the Native Americans the Black Hills because it was a piece of property nobody wanted. So how did we, the government, do it? We don't want it. Go ahead. You can have it. So they gave them this property. This is yours. As long as the buffalo roams, you have this property. Great. Done. Sealed. Delivered. But later on, they find gold in the Black Hills. Now we want it back, guys. There's precious things in there, and we kind of want this gold. No, we signed this treaty. We want this. This is our land. So, now the government has to basically eminent domain today say, no, we're taking it back. Sorry about your luck. They say all Native Americans have to report to their reservations by this time, or you will be considered hostile and we will come and push you out. Most go. These group of warriors decide not to. So they decide a plan of attack. They have 3 columns going to converge on this site. General John Gibbon, very successful Civil War general. He takes 1 column. General George Crook, another successful Civil War general, will take the other. And then General Alfred Terry. Wait a minute. Where's Custer? Custer is part of General Alfred Terry's detachment. Alfred Terry is a brigadier general. He's a lieutenant colonel, so he outranks them. And Custer got into some trouble before that, and he was demoted. You have to be second in command. So he is part of this as kind of his punishment. He is number 2 in line, but he's still part of Terry's column. Well, 2 things happened. One, basically our American government, yay, they gave him a timetable that was not appropriate for getting there on time. So, basically, most reservations, most Native Americans couldn't get to the reservations by that time because of how they hunted and how they supplied food for their family. So, people who wanted to do the best they can, try to get there as fast as they could. Others said, no, this is ridiculous, it's our land, and we're not going to comply. And Sitting Bull, the main leader of the Lakota Sioux, said, hey, this is where we're going to make our stand. Anybody who wants to join us, come on down. Basically, come on down. And people started flowing to him. Crazy Horse, as the leader of the Cheyenne, came. Chief Gall came. Now, they got a pretty good group of Indians now. The plan, developed by Philip Sheridan, by the way, was 3 swords converge. Gibbon, Terry, Crook. Now, Crook gets there earlier than the other 2, at the Rosebud, and he hits heavy resistance from the Native Americans. So much that he has to fall back and go back to the fort he came from to resupply and take care of his injured. But he doesn't send any word to anybody. He doesn't send word to Gibbon. This is when to Terry. They're like, what the heck? He just says, I'm going to go back, and I'm going to come back. What? You know this is part of a plan, right? You're not going to tell anybody? So Gibbon and Terry are converging. They have not heard from Crook. So Terry devises a plan where he sends Custer as a separate detachment to take Crook's place. If you find Crook, great, awesome. You combine with Crook, you come up from the south, and then me and Gibbon will converge and take it over. If not, you go ahead. Now, he offers him another cavalry attachment. Custer is Custer. He says, I train with my troops, and he always trained with his troops. He said he would never do anything, tell them to do anything that he would not do himself. And he always would train by his troops because he wanted them to live up to his standards. So not you do it, I'm doing it too, and you should be able to keep up with me. So he decides not to take it. No, they're not part of my group. They don't know how I roll. I leave them alone. Now, they offered him a detachment of Gatling guns. He said they only saw my march, and they also will be very loud, and I will not be able to sneak up on the enemy. Same way as he packed up his own sabers of all his soldiers, so you didn't hear the clanking, so that he can be more covert and get into the enemy camp. This will play a pivotal role later. And this will be the last time Terry will talk to Custer, and the last words that were ever said. General Terry said, Custer, wait for us. And he said, no, I won't. Now, Custer gets there on Sunday, June the 25th. Gibbon and Terry are scheduled to get there June the 26th. So, he doesn't have the extra detachment. He doesn't have the Gatling guns. He does not find Crook, and he gets there early. Because he doesn't have the extra weight. He doesn't have the extra men. And his guys, he's trained them. They're good. And he pushes and gets there. Now, he plans to attack the next morning. As they're making up camp, One of his scouts comes to him and says, "General, they've spotted us." And this flabbergasted Custer because he's put his swords away. He's tried to be so covert. He does not want to be detected. They've spotted us. Okay. They're going to scatter. If they scatter, the whole plan is gone. I got to get them now. So he sends up the bugle. We got to get out there. He does not realize that the tribe that spotted him was not part of their tribe. It was another tribe. They wouldn't even know anyway. He doesn't know this. He sees the Native Americans. His scouts say they were Native Americans, and he feels they're part of that group. And we got to fight. We got to figure it out. And he decides to do the same thing that they were going to do and divide his command. Now, Custer wants to do the same attack plan that they were all supposed to do before they got there. 3 columns converging on the spot. But he only has about 650 men. So what he does, he gets 3 detachments. Reno, Captain Benteen, and then Lieutenant Custer takes his own. Now, a day earlier, his scouts say, "We see the village from this lookout point." But he keeps looking through his glasses and he can't see it. The officer with him can't see it. The scouts are Native American. They're of Crow descent. And they say it's there. He can't see it. So when this attack goes off, he doesn't really know where they're at. He knows they're in this valley, but he does not know where they're at, really. So he divides into 3 columns in order to try and feel his way through and find where they're exactly located. He tells Captain Benteen, "You go from the Bighorn to the Bighorn, the valley next to it, and try to feel your way. If they're not there, keep going." He says Reno to the Little Bighorn. Now, as we know from history, Reno finds them first at the Little Bighorn. That's where they're at. And he attacks. So now Custer swings around where Reno is going to be the anvil and Custer is going to be the hammer to hammer it down and take him from the rear. And Benteen is going to be the reserve to support Reno and him. Now, Custer has estimated that there are 800 warriors there, plus their families and children. He has 621 men. With a surprise attack, I think I can overpower an extra 200 people, which he's done before. If you look at most of his wins at Gettysburg and other Civil War battles, he's most of the time outnumbered. So he's like, I can do this. He does not realize that he has a village over 2,000. And this is going to play a pivotal role in the battle. Reno finds him first. Now, he has never fought Native Americans before. He was a Civil War guy. This is not what he has ever done. He charges. We found the village. Boom. He's going gung-ho. But then, his Civil War training in him, he forms a skirmish line outside the village about 100 yards. Now, as we know, in Civil War, that's what they did. They lined up, we fight, and that's how we do it. Now, Custer's orders were to charge in the village and create as much havoc as you can. Now, Reno, if you go to his court case, said, I feel if I would have charged in the village, it was a big village, I would have been surrounded and overrun. And now the Native Americans can get up, they can grab their bow, they can grab their weapons, and then charge out at you when they're ready. And plus, every 4th soldier has to hold the horses, because you don't want them to get spooked. So now you have 200 men. Every fourth guy has to hold the horses. Your firepower is now diminished. So eventually, after enough of these guys get up and get ready to go, now he's getting heated. He's starting to get a lot of heat from these Native Americans. So he moves, finds a very defensive position in this brush. And he holds up pretty well for a while. He's got good soldiers, got good ammunition, and they're laying down a pretty good thing of fire. So the Native Americans start to set fire to the brush and start to cause a little extra heat on them. Like I said, he's never fought the Native Americans before. He has this scout next to him trying to advise him of how to do things because this is not his realm. And as the battle is going on, this scout gets shot through the head and it splurts on Reno's face. All of a sudden, Reno is not Reno anymore. He has basically lost everything. And he says, "Mount!" Everybody gets on the horses. "Dismount!" He's losing it. He does not know what's going on. Eventually, he gets on his horse and says, "Anybody who wants to make their escape, follow me." And he rides the hell out of there as fast as you can. With Reno not there, where do you think the Native Americans are going to turn their attention to? Now, while this is going on, Reno is still engaged. He is tied down in the brush I told you about. Now, Custer witnesses this. He sees they're in a battle. And he cheers and shows, "Yes, awesome, okay, now it's our turn. He is the anvil, I'm the hammer." So he swings around and he comes down to finish the job. But like we mentioned before, he thinks it's a tribe of 800 warriors. So he comes down full force, ready to go, and realizes, crap, I'm in the middle of the village. I'm not close to the end. I'm supposed to take the rear and finish it. And wow, this is not the 800 men. And I'm sorry, this is probably the first gut check to Custer. Like, oh my gosh. And now they've seen him. So now, what warriors who are not attacking Reno are starting to put fire on Custer. So he retreats, trying to get to the end to do what he was supposed to do and come at the rear. Now, as we know, Reno's still out there. Now, Reno finally gets overwhelmed and out of his mind and leaves. Now, the people who are attacking Reno are now turning on Custer, plus the ones who were already heading up there because they were not attacking Reno. So now, Custer is going to get it from all sides. Now he's waiting for help from Benteen or Reno, anybody, to come and help relieve him. But that help is not going to come. Now, and I know most of you who are listening to the story are wondering, where's Benteen at? And I'm telling you, half the freaking army is also wondering, where the hell is Benteen at? I'll tell you where Benteen's at. Custer writes a message because he finally sees what he has to deal with. And he writes a message. Benteen, come quick. Big village, bring packs. P.S. Bring packs. Now, Benteen interprets this as, I gotta wait for the wagon trains. He wants packs. He wants everything. He wants the full ammunition. He wants the swords. He wants everything we've got. So he decides to sit back, wait for the wagon train, and then come and reinforce and do his thing. Now, one thing Custer did mess up is the guy he sent to bring the letter was foreigner, and he couldn't speak very much English. But I don't think you need to know English to say, move your ass and get over here. I need help. Now, when Benteen finally decides to become that casually late guy at the party, he shows up with the packs and everything. He hears gunfire. He moves toward the gunfire. What's going on? And he finds Reno, who has still lost his mind and is still not the commanding leader that he should be. They're entrenched on Reno Hill. He shows up with the packs, finds out what's going on and all the information that Reno has, and he decides to entrench. Reno's gone. He's the commanding officer, but he is no longer able to hold command. So Benteen is the highest ranking officer, and he basically takes control, and he entrenches there on Reno Hill. There's one group of soldiers who, against orders, they break out and they say, we got to find out what's going on with Custer. And as they advance and try to find out what's going on, they see a bunch of smoke. They hear a lot of gunfire. And all of a sudden, there's a huge resistance of Native Americans coming at them. They know that they can't handle. So they retreat back to the position, and Benteen gives a good cover fire to get them behind the lines and saves them. Pretty much anybody who's actually thinking knowledgeably knows what has happened and know it's too late. What we do know is Custer moved to the highest point he could, which is now called Last Stand Hill. He formed his skirmish lines and was waiting for help to come to him. Benteen, Reno, waiting for something because he was surrounded. And they put him in as fire as they could. And eventually, 200 men, 210 to be exact, versus 2,000, eventually, you're going to get overwhelmed. And they did. They got overwhelmed. Chaos happened, especially when Custer finally got shot underneath the heart and died. And then all bets were off. Your commander's gone. Now it's fear. You can't train for that. And eventually we will lose Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer, who's buried today at West Point. His two brothers, Tom Custer, two-time Medal of Honor winner. Boston Custer. His brother-in-law, James Calhoun. And his nephew, Henry Reed. A toast. To the members of the 7th Calvary, 261 men that still sit there on a hill in Montana. These men need to be remembered. They're Americans. They served this country, they fought for this country, and they died for this country. As Abraham Lincoln would say, they gave their last full measure. What more can you ask? To Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer. This man served in the Civil War, and he led these troops. We can't forget the accolades before this battle because You can't take one event and judge a man. You can't. To Lieutenant Colonel George Armstrong Custer, the man of the 7th. Here's a star or a coffin. Now this is good history.